name is Craig Ries, and we are here to recap the season finale of Traitors Season 2. It has been an amazing season, probably better than last year. I really think it was just so spectacular. Lots of great players. And last night was the finale and the reunion. So we're going to recap both of those because they both happened last night. Very excited to talk about everything that happened. There's a lot to cover. So let's jump right in. At the beginning of the finale episode, there had to be one more murder. Kate is the only traitor left at this point. And to help throw the scent off of her, she thought it might be a good idea to eliminate one of her Bravo buddies or someone from her Bravo tribe. And she did decide to go with one of her, not only Bravo, but a housewife, Cherie. It was a good move by Kate because it did kind of throw the other faithfuls off. So that murder happened. And so now we're down to 5. They've got one more mission to try to collect more money for the pot. And then they will have their final roundtable and that will be the end of the show. Real quick with the mission, not my favorite. Not my favorite. It seemed kind of clunky, kind of just thrown together like a race. And you can choose to stop and do these obstacles for more money. The obstacles themselves were very weird. Like it was just one picture of a rock and that was your hint. So they just started looking by the rocks and it was just a little tin can hidden in the mess on the ground. I don't know. It just seemed kind of put together at the very last minute. Maybe something did change and they had to kind of come up with something quick. Another thing is the second obstacle had a combination lock on it, and they realized that they had to go all the way back to the beginning of the race where there was a 4-digit code just painted on a rock. It could have been anything. No hints to like, hey, this is going to be important, you know? So CT ran all the way back to the beginning of the race while the others moved forward to the third obstacle. And then I'm saying all that because then they hopped on these, it's like a ropes course and had to like rappel down across this water cliff and go into a cave to get the third obstacle, then take a boat out to a larger boat and raise this very heavy flag. And this was all done in 60 minutes. And then the most of it was all done in the last 18 minutes. So I've always kind of thought some of these challenges don't seem correct in the timing of it all. Just putting on the gear to do that rappel down would have taken a long time. So I don't know. It fits weird. And then it always comes down to they just barely win the game or the challenge by 90 seconds or I think it was 9 seconds last night. So anyways, it's not a big deal, but it's just like, is this real? But they got all the obstacle bonuses plus the money for finishing and everyone getting on the boat and raising the sail. And that added another $50,000 to their pot, which was at 158,100. So the final total of money going into it, whether they're going to split it or the trader's going to get it, is $208,000 and $100. 208,100. $208,100. So yeah, that's what they're working with. I think that's a little less than last year. I feel like last year was like 225 or something. But so they're going into the round table, and we had mentioned this on the last recap, but Kate, a lot of people were already kind of suspicious of Kate because of the way that she interacted with Phaedra when they banished Phaedra. Kate just seemed more upset about it and to the point where it looked like they might have been like working with each other. So Sandra for sure was on to Kate a little bit. And so throughout this episode, they're all kind of meeting in private in 2s or 3s. And most of them have the game plan of voting Kate. Trishelle, CT, and Sandra were going to vote for Kate. And then MJ and Kate were going to vote for Sandra and try to convince one more person, because you need 3 votes minimum to get someone off of this final roundtable, to join them in voting for Sandra. Well, CT and Kate rode by themselves in a card after the challenge and had a conversation, but Kate lied to Sandra and said that in this conversation, CT was gonna vote for her, for Sandra. And it was very compelling, very believable. And so this now puts Sandra on the defense. And so now she wants to get CT out because she sees that as traitor behavior. Um, and that's kind of where it left off and going into the round table. So CT and Trishelle really don't know this. So they're still thinking that everyone is voting for Kate. Um, but CT had also had a conversation, I think, with Kate, and she kind of convinced him too that um, Sandra was going to come for him. And so they go to this round table. Sandra brings up Kate. I think it was Chandler, maybe it's been Trishelle, but Kate was brought up first, but Kate kind of deflected very well. And then MJ brought up Sandra, and there were just some good points made. Fake points, but good ones nonetheless. And so they're going through the votes, and Trishelle votes for Kate, and then CT, instead of voting for Kate, votes for Sandra. And Trishelle does not hide the surprised look on her face. And that was it for Sandra. Sandra got 3 votes and had to go. And she's won Survivor twice. In our past recaps, we've talked about how we kind of thought Sandra was keep playing it low or try to stay out of the radar and then just kind of attack at the end. But she really didn't do that, but she got bamboozled. she yeah, it was a very, very good move by Kate. I was shocked. So now they've got 4. There's 3 faithfuls and a traitor. And same way they kind of ended the show last year, they go outside. It's a midnight final, and everyone gets a bag. One will burn green if they want to finish the game and they think everyone's good to go, or it'll burn red once they throw it into the fire. And that means we have to banish one more person. And it only takes one person to pick red. So they start to throw it in. There's only 1 green, which is from Kate, and then there's 3 reds from the faithfuls. So obviously they know they've got one more traitor in their midst. I was kind of surprised that Kate went for the green. I just think that everyone knew there was one more traitor in this group. So her throwing out the green, thinking that it's okay to end, was another big red flag, if there wasn't enough already. But they had to go around and vote. Everyone voted for Kate, and then Kate voted for Trishelle. But again, I think that was just a whatever because they got me. So Kate, awesome job. I had talked in a previous recap. I really think Kate could have won this. I think she messed it up by just showing too much emotion when they were voting Phaedra out. If she just would have chilled, she probably could have stayed under the radar the whole show and convinced people to vote Sandra and then maybe CT or MJ. I don't think she would have gone for Trishelle. Trishelle was so good in this game that it would have been not a good move. But then she could have just been the traitor left. But it happens. Little mistakes in the show literally can be large consequences. So we've got 3 faithfuls. This is where the game should end. And so they get to throw in the bag one more time. MJ goes first. It's green. But then Trishelle and CT both throw in the red one, meaning they want to do one more banishment. This is interesting, too, because the rules of the game are you can either end with the group that you have, or it automatically ends when there's only 2 people left. So they have to banish someone, but then it's done. And after that, it's just 2 people, and that will be the final 2, whether it's 2 faithfuls or a traitor and a faithful. First I was so sad for MJ because she was shocked. Did not expect that at all. And then my immediate thought was, I thought CT and Trishelle had planned this from the beginning, and they just wanted to be the final 2 and not split the money 3 ways, just split it 2 ways between themselves. But they go around and they vote on their little chalkboards again, and CT votes for MJ. MJ doesn't know who to vote for because she's shocked. So she puts down Trishelle, even though she knows Trishelle's a faithful. And then we were expecting Trishelle to write down MJ, but Trishelle writes down CT. And so there's a lot of history here, and I won't spend too much time because it's a lot, but it goes back to when CT gave John the torch that kind of saved him from murder that night. She felt betrayed. That happened like season or episode like 5 or 6. So this has been a while. And then Trishelle was thrown off by CT changing his mind in that final roundtable to vote for Sandra and not Kate. She saw that as just a very traitor behavior. And what it looks like is if we know that Kate is a traitor, then CT changing his vote at the last minute and making it sound like he changed his mind, it almost makes it look like he's a traitor and he's trying to protect Kate, the other traitor, in this, so not a good look, especially going into the final banishment, final end. So after this, they all get to, I guess, plead their case and try to convince each other or that they're not the traitor, which is so sad because no one is the traitor. They're all faithfuls, but they've put themselves in this situation. So even if they were like, you're right, none of us are traitors, they can't go back. Someone has to go home now. And CT just got very emotional and just made very good eye contact with Trishelle. And I basically convinced Trishelle that he's not a traitor and he was sorry for all that stuff he pulled, but it wasn't him being a traitor. It was just him being confused and trying to find the traitor. So they vote one more time. And it almost was looking like it was going to be a stalemate again because CT voted for MJ again. MJ voted for Trishelle again. But Trishelle changed her vote from CT to MJ. And poor MJ was out. And then, both Trishelle and CT say they're both faithfuls. And the ending, watching them two celebrate was very cute and very fun. You can tell they were very excited. And one thing to kind of note is Trishelle, she still really, I don't think, was convinced that CT wasn't the traitor on that final chalk name writing, but she said she just couldn't write CT's name again. She just couldn't do it. And it was the right choice, but so sad for MJ. So yeah, they split the money, which means they each get just over $100,000, $104,000 and $50. So $104,000. And I don't know how much Scottish taxes takes out of that, but good chunk. And it's definitely, a better chunk splitting it 2 ways than 3. So that is the end of the finale. Now, there are a couple of things from the reunion I want to talk about real quick. But again, what a great show. Was not expecting the 3 traitors to be voting each other off. I just really thought it was just going to wrap right there. But it was neat to have a traitor or a faithful season winning, because last year the traitor won, so this year the faithfuls won. So that's at least kind of cool, and it was a way different ending than the season 1 was. The reunion was very good. If you haven't seen it, definitely go check it out. Everyone looks amazing. Andy Cohen is the host again. Alan Cumming kind of does an intro and an outro to the show, but it's here in the States and Andy does it here. And he pretty much just gets about one question with each person because they've got it's only an hour, might be in 48 minutes. And he's got to mostly spend the time talking to the final 4. But his conversation with Peppermint was very neat. So definitely go check that out. Him talking to Dan and Parvati, the first 2 traitors to get voted out. There was a lot of interesting conversations there, especially with Dan's gameplay and not really being on it. And also Andy had a lot of questions from the fans, which was really neat to see. It's the same way he does all the Housewives reunions. So it was the same exact method. So if you know that, then you know it. So yeah, comments from fans and social media, questions for them. That was really neat to see. So go check it out. But a couple pointers. At one point, they had kind of asked the cast who was the best non-gamer and who was the best gamer. And let me take a break from that real quick. So it was very interesting because for season one, it was half reality people and half non-reality people, people that haven't been on a TV show. And it almost seemed a little unfair, especially when you think about the finale where Suri, who is a very experienced reality competition star, was in the finale with two non-reality people. So I kind of think that's why they brought in a whole cast of reality stars, because it just doesn't seem fair to put reality people who have this experience with this kind of stuff against people that have never been on a television show. So now, though, they've kind of divided it into gamer reality TV people and non-gamers, meaning like Housewives. All the Bravo people are non-gamer, non-competitive reality TV stars, whereas Big Brother, Survivor, The Challenge, which is where CT and Trishelle are both heavily influenced from, is The Challenge and all that. So now the conversation is, who was the best gamer and who was the best non-gamer, and everyone did agree that Trishelle was the best gamer contestant on the show, which I 100% agree. I've been saying that since mid-season. She just was perfect on guessing the right traitors and all that. And then everyone said the best non-gamer contestant on the show was Peter, which definitely agree with. He was very good, and he came from Bachelor Nation, so he not a contest or a competitive reality star, but just a reality TV star. And then it was just interesting too, because if we're talking about these non-gamers, they were a lot of the ones that were still very hurt from the show. MJ was still very upset with Trishelle, mostly Trishelle, even though it was CT and Trishelle. In fact, it was CT that voted for her twice, but for some reason she was pointing a lot of her anger at Trishelle. And again, MJ is not from this competitive reality TV world, and she doesn't see it as a game, whereas the gamers do. They just move on to their next competition or the next game. And then another kind of thing that shocked me as far as emotions and all that is Phaedra was still very upset with Dan when they were all traitors, and Dan started kind of teaming up with Parvati and seeing if they can get Phaedra out, and then at the round table tried to get Phaedra out and threw under the bus, and luckily, and he admitted this, but she turned around right back at him and was able to get everyone to get him out. But he had already caused damage for Phaedra because, and Trishelle is the one that kind of picked up on this, but we won't go back all the way there. But yeah, it's interesting to see how the non-gamers, and they would, of course, get their feelings hurt. A lot of it was questions about, like, did you make the right call or did you make a mistake? Dan admitted that he's done Big Brother twice, and it was not the same way that he should have played this game. And because no one was suspecting Phaedra until Dan, as a last-minute save for himself, threw her name out. And then again, everyone, I think, really loved Phaedra this year. They did a kind of big, little video of all the great lines and one-liners that Phaedra had this season. Please give us comments, questions, your thoughts on the finale, on the whole season. I really just think it was a great season. At the end of the reunion, they did go back to Alan, and he did say that season 3 is definitely coming back. And I believe they've already started pre-production, which means it'll start shooting very soon. So hopefully we'll be back next season with more recaps. I'm very interested to see if they'll keep 20 reality people or go back to the first format of season 1. I don't think they would do that. The popularity of the show just expanded so much with this season. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of reality TV stars that want to be on this show because it's doing so well. But again, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to Hollywood Junket. We do lots of other great recaps and interviews with shows from all over. But again, my name is Craig Ries. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.